Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Russian troops apparently stalling in their invasion of Ukraine, launching attacks on the capital of Kyiv and other parts of the country as the refugee crisis gets worse. Working to heal the wounds of war, we're going to tell you about a unique counseling program at Regent University. Plus, some call Leah Thomas the most powerful collegiate women's swimmer today. But as a trans athlete, critics are saying it's not fair for a woman to get beaten by a trans athlete in sports.
I'm a firm believer that we need to protect the interests of women and girls in sport. It's not in the best interest of women's sports to allow this.
We'll explore the growing trend, then we'll talk to a Ukrainian pastor who shares a glimmer of hope among all the devastation in the war against Ukraine.
We are seeing the body of Christ truly come alive. They've had to pivot and change the way that ministry looks for them. But pastors and churches are focusing on refugee care and support.
What will I do in the moment that everything falls?
And then later, we stand together in unity with Christian rock band The Newsboys as we take a look beyond political and social differences in our world today. All these stories and more are coming up next from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin with the war against Ukraine. The International Organization for Migration says more than 3 million people have fled that country since Russia invaded. But Russian troops appear to have stalled. That is according to the Pentagon. The Kremlin now relying on airstrikes to intensify its devastating attacks on civilians. CBN's Jenna Browder is on the story.
Officials say the airstrikes targeting civilians are meant to cause fear and defeat. For now, though, Ukrainian resistance appears to be holding.
The Ukrainians continue to fight back very bravely and skillfully. And you've heard me use the word creatively, and I would say that continues to be the case.
With Russian ground troops stalled, the Kremlin is resorting to airstrikes. New visuals show the extent of the devastation. The city of Kyiv seeing its heaviest bombardment yet. One strike hitting an apartment building in the early morning hours. Another rocket crashing into a city street. In Mariupol, fires burning across the city. Many high-rise apartments destroyed. This as Moscow expands its assault to the western part of the country. U.S. officials warning the city of Lviv could be next. Russia believes it's a staging ground for Ukrainian resistance and Western military aid.
The more that Russia conducts strikes in the west of Ukraine and the more Russian forces move in that direction, the greater the chances for miscalculation.
Bradley Bowman with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies on CBN's Faith Nation.
That's why it's so important, in my view, that the United States, working with our NATO allies, reinforce NATO's eastern flank in the Baltics, in Romania, in Poland, to deter Putin from any aggression directed at NATO lines, because once he does that, that would invoke Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, and you would have Russia and our NATO allies at war, something we were able to avoid for 4 decades during the Cold War.
Meanwhile, feeling the pain of Western sanctions, the Kremlin has reached out to China for military equipment. China is said to be considering the request, though Beijing denies it. The State Department with this warning.
We will ensure that no country is able to get away with such a thing.
And in Russia, a brave show of resistance when this woman crashed a newscast on Russian state TV to protest the war in Ukraine, shouting, "Stop the war, don't believe the propaganda." More peace talks between Russia and Ukraine are expected today. And on Wednesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will address Congress, and President Biden is reportedly considering a trip to Europe in the coming weeks. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Senior international correspondent George Thomas is with us now from Ukraine's capital city, Kyiv. George, you felt those powerful explosions this morning. Explain where you were.
Yeah, I mean, the first one started around 4 o'clock, around 4:10 in the morning. It jolted me up. I put a mattress up against my window and keep the window a little ajar in case a missile were to land close to where I'm staying. The concussion won't necessarily blow the window out. It would soften the explosion, and the bed, the mattress, hopefully, keeps the shards of glass and other metal from hitting me and coming into the room. But then at 4:10 this morning, oh my goodness, I heard a jet. And I thought, wait a minute, is that a Russian jet? And probably about 20 seconds after, boom, the first explosion goes off. And I've been in a number of earthquakes, and Ephraim, my room moved like this. And I thought, wow. I got up, and then boom, another one. And then obviously the third explosion happened. So I've figured out the difference between, the Ukrainians launching a surface-to-air missile as opposed to an incoming missile. And those three were very powerful incoming missiles. Keep in mind, Russia has launched over 900 missiles since they started the war back on February 24th. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable and frightening. Now, Kyiv has just announced curfews. Can you tell me the details about this and why they're imposing the lockdowns?
Yeah, so Ephraim, it starts tonight time at 8 p.m. and runs all the way till Thursday at 7 a.m. Basically, nobody can go out on the streets, cannot go shopping, cannot just walk around unless you're headed, if the sirens go off, and unless you're headed to a bunker. But there is absolutely, it's a total lockdown. And the idea is because that there has been an uptick, Ephraim, in the last 24 to 48 hours. The bombardment on Kyiv has intensified. Pretty much, we haven't seen this kind of intensification since the beginning of the assault. So you get the sense that as the Russians continue to stall, the other option that the Russians have is to launch these missiles. As I mentioned, 900 of them. So they have no other way of hitting the capital. Their troops can't get in because of the defenses put up by the Ukrainians. So instead, they are launching these missiles. And so the idea, the mayor of Kyiv said this morning, he said the next 36 hours could be very, very dangerous. And so he's asking Kyivites to stay off the streets until Thursday morning at 7.
Now, you've been watching the situation down in the south along the Black Sea near Odessa. What's the significance of this port city, and could it fall into Russian hands?
Look, I think, in my opinion, if Odessa is taken by the Russians, so goes the entire nation of Ukraine. Why? Because 70% of Ukrainian imports, Ephraim, comes through the Black Sea and comes through the coast of Mariupol and Odessa. And basically, if the Russians take Odessa, 70% of the imports coming through the sea, 65% of those imports transit through Odessa. So if they take Odessa, basically the entire access to the sea is cut off. Ukrainians will have no access to the sea. That is devastating for their economy. So the folks in Odessa have put up their fortifications. They're dug in. They are preparing for a potential assault on the city. And the Russians know how important and strategic capturing this significant port city would be to their ongoing assault.
All right, George Thomas reporting for us from Kyiv today. Thank you so much, George. Stay safe. Of course, we're praying for you. Want to let you know that you can help Operation Blessing's disaster relief efforts in this terrible war and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. You can also call us at 1-800-700-7000. Simply say that you want to give to Operation Blessing's Disaster Relief Fund. You can write us at CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. Simply note Disaster Relief Fund in the communication or the memo line of the check. And of course, you can text us. Just text OB Crisis to 71777. You can also visit cbn.com or operationblessing.org. Anything you can do, of course, is greatly appreciated in this time of need. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine intensifies, so does the trauma for its citizens. Through a unique counseling program, Regent University is poised to help those wounds of war. Charlene Aaron brings us this story.
For nearly a decade, Regent University has been working with the government, churches, and universities to train counselors in Ukraine. With millions suffering in the recent Russian invasion, the work is needed now more than ever.
We first started in 2012 when I first came to Regent as a new faculty, and we had an invitation from a private Christian school to educate pastoral counselors at that time, Christian counselors.
Dr. Olya Zaporoshets, a Ukraine native, serves as an associate professor for Regent's School of Psychology and Counseling.
Part of her work includes training mental health counselors in her home country, both online and in person. After Russia invaded and occupied the Crimean Peninsula of eastern Ukraine in 2014, the focus expanded from training just clergy to trauma counseling.
We saw it as consistent with our mission. We're here as an educational institution, but we want to make an impact on real-world issues where we can, while fulfilling that educational goal.
Dr. William Hathaway serves as Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Regent. He tells CBN News how the counseling program uses researched and well-recognized models for trauma care, while also including a Christian approach, especially now.
Who knows right now where things will go in Ukraine, but certainly people need all the resources they can get for resiliency. And I think those spiritual resources are particularly important for that. It helps instill hope. It also helps people in areas of dealing with pain and injury.
Zaporozhets says current events are having a big impact on their work because Ukrainians enrolled in the counseling program have been personally affected.
Let's stabilize our clinicians, and then that helps them to remember, hey, at this situation, you don't need to know a lot of things. You just could do breathing, and that works. That helps you come down and then see what the next thing would be. That is important for survival.
As the war continues, Regent plans to remain engaged and rebuild lives for as long as it takes.
Everything that I'm seeing right now on the mental health side, we're not going to have less work, but more. And at this point, we are standing alongside with all of our psychologists, counselors in Ukraine.
Many who have recently completed training are already making a difference.
There are some people that we trained are literally in the trenches right now as we speak. And there are people who are in military, there are people who are in hospitals. Those students who are Christians, they are a little more outspoken about miracles that God is doing during this war and how He's responding to prayers, which are undeniable.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
In other news, lawmakers in Idaho have passed a measure aimed at banning abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. It would allow potential family members to sue a doctor who performs an abortion. The Idaho House overwhelmingly approved the bill by a 51-14 vote with no Democratic support. The Senate has already passed it. The measure is modeled on the Texas abortion law. It now goes to Idaho's Republican governor for his signature. He has not said if he will sign it, but he did sign a similar fetal heartbeat abortion bill just last year. It is a big debate. Some say it's not fair for women who are getting beaten by trans athletes.
This is wrong. This betrays all of this fairness that we worked so hard.
We're exploring the debate coming up. Stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream. The chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities. The chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Sports Illustrated calls Leah Thomas the most powerful collegiate women's swimmer. But Thomas recently transitioned from male to female, and athletic fans expect her to dominate the NCAA Women's Division I championships this week. Critics fear Thomas could destroy women's swimming in the process. Heather Sells has the story.
Across the country, there's just a few voices speaking publicly about the concern about trans athletes. One of them, a USA swimming official from Toledo, Ohio.
We live in Northwest Ohio on the Great Lakes. Everybody here learns how to swim.
Cynthia Millen started as a swim mom, then began to officiate as her kids grew. She fell in love with the beauty of the sport and its fairness.
People don't realize that before that first person gets into the water, right? The officials are checking the pool, every block, every lane line, every flag, every swimsuit, every pair of goggles, making sure that every swimmer is getting the best possible shot and that no one has an advantage or a disadvantage.
For 30-plus years, Millen officiated swim meets around the world, from NCAA to the Paralympics. But in December, she resigned in protest as a USA swimming official. Her objection, official acceptance of UPenn swimmer Leah Thomas. A biological male, Thomas previously swam for the UPenn men's team, but began racing against women last fall after taking drugs to suppress his testosterone.
I thought, this is wrong. This betrays all of this fairness that we worked so hard.
So I've been swimming in the water since I was 5 years old.
In December, Thomas publicly explained his transition to female, calling it incredibly rewarding.
I can continue to do the sport I love as my authentic self.
Millen says initially many in the swim community thought Thomas's first competitive meet as a female was a one and done, but he's continued. Publicly, most sports officials, coaches, and writers have warmly received Thomas. A glowing Sports Illustrated story chronicles the Ivy League records he's already set in women's swimming, adding the label, the nation's most powerful female collegiate swimmer. And it quickly dismisses those who question Thomas. There's no room for any protest at UPenn or in the Ivy League. Some swimmers and parents have, but only anonymously.
I wish the women had responded collectively and angrily as soon as the news of Leah had broken. I wish that seas of people were too incensed to stand by and had protested outside athletic departments and presidents' offices at universities.
Longtime sports performance coach Dr. Linda Blade says decision makers at the highest levels are more afraid of being called transphobic than hateful to women.
I sit on panels of big-time sport decision-making policy boards, and people in those circles are scared to say anything.
There are a few exceptions. Notably, Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps has questioned Thomas competing against women.
Because it has to be a level playing field. I think that's something that we all need because that's what sports are.
Others speaking out publicly include 2021 Olympic swimmer Erica Brown and former Olympic coach Dave Salo.
I'm a firm believer that we need to protect the interests of women and girls in sport.
Thomas told Sports Illustrated that he's aiming for the 2024 Olympics. In the meantime, he is a favorite to win several individual titles at the NCAA championships. The ripple effect? No titles for the women that would have otherwise won.
It's not in the best interest of women's sports to allow this.
Why should a woman be expected to take second place? Why should a woman train so hard for what? For inclusion. I laughed when they were saying, and this was the Ivy League and NCAA, well, the most important part of competition is that we're included, that it's inclusion. No, it's not. You want to win, right?
Going forward, coaches like Salo and Blade are hoping for a reorganization of sports, where those like Leah Thomas can compete, but not against women.
There has to be a dedicated category in sport strictly for the female athlete.
In the meantime, Millen is watching out for kids, young athletes, who are taking it all in.
By pretending that a male or a female can transition by surgery, by drug taking, by suppression, you're telling kids that this is okay. You're telling kids that this is healthy, and it's not.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
Still ahead, we're going to meet a Ukrainian pastor who sees hope amidst all the devastation going on in his country. Stay with us for that.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. This week on the Prayer Link, we talked with a Ukrainian-American pastor who is watching what's unfolding in his home country with heartbreak.
That's right. For Pastor Andrew Moroz, it has been difficult to see his family and friends hunker down in basements and makeshift bomb shelters to avoid danger. But he told us his one glimmer of hope amidst all the devastation has been seeing Christians rise up in the Ukraine. Take a look.
We are seeing the body of Christ truly come alive. They've had to pivot and change the way that ministry looks for them. But pastors and churches are focusing on refugee care and support. They are helping to rescue people and bring them to the border. They're picking up supplies at the border and bringing supplies back to areas that are affected by the conflict. And even ministries that would do things like orphan care or Christian camps, many of those have been converted right now to refugee care. And so it's really beautiful to see the body of Christ responding to this crisis together.
And you can watch the full episode of The Prayer Link on the CBN News Channel.
You'll be encouraged through the word and prayer. That's all this week on The Prayer Link. Back to you, Ephraim.
And coming up, your Tuesday Tweetable and some special music from the Newsboys. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and today I leave you with this thought. Miracles are routine for God. Your need for a miracle doesn't take him by surprise. He knows, he cares, and he stands ready to answer your prayer. Take him at his word. The only thing he cannot do is fail. With that word, make this a terrific Tuesday, and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. Before we go, we want to take you to the Newsboys Stand Together tour. Each stop aims to encourage believers to look beyond political and social differences, choose to show love, and stand for God. The group released its album called Stand about a year ago, and then re-released the title track in January in collaboration with Toby Mac. The song has become an anthem on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic and now the war in Ukraine. Lead singer Michael Tate told the Christian Post the song is where we are in America, divided over race wars and in wars in other countries. Where do we stand in all of this? Where are our heads? Where are our hearts? We have to stand at the foot of the cross, because that is where all roads meet. Want to leave you with that song, Stand, but first want to remind you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time or online at cbnnews.com. Thanks for watching, and God bless. Here's Stand.
What will I do in the moment that everything falls? I'm gonna stand in a world that's breaking, stand for a truth unchanging. I'm not ashamed, I've considered the cost. I'll stay right here at the foot of the cross and stand. They can call me a fool or stubborn for following you.